My name is Sam, and I've always been drawn to the inexplicable, the eerie, and the unknown. It's an obsession that has led me down dark and twisted paths, but nothing could have prepared me for the terror that awaited me in the small, decaying town of Penner. It all started when I stumbled upon an old, tattered journal in a dusty corner of a second-hand bookstore. The journal belonged to a man named Henry Chance, and it was filled with cryptic entries and sketches that hinted at something sinister lurking in Penner. I couldn't resist the pull of the mystery, and soon I found myself driving down a desolate highway toward the forgotten town. Penner was like a place lost in time. As I entered, I noticed the crumbling buildings, boarded-up windows, and an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. It was as if the town had been frozen in the midst of a dark secret. My first stop was the local diner, a dimly lit place with faded red vinyl seats and a waitress who looked like she hadn't smiled in years. I asked her about Henry Chance, and her eyes flickered with a mix of fear and curiosity. She pointed me in the direction of an old ramshackle house on the outskirts of town. The house was a dilapidated mansion, overgrown with ivy and surrounded by a rusted iron fence. It loomed like a haunted sentinel, guarding its terrible secrets. I took a deep breath and pushed open the creaking gate, my heart pounding in my chest. Inside, the house was a maze of decrepit hallways and peeling wallpaper. I followed the faint scent of musty pages and found myself in a room that could only be described as a library of madness. Books and scrolls littered the floor, and the walls were covered in bizarre diagrams and symbols. And there, at the center of it all, was a wooden desk covered in more journals, Henry Chance's journals. I began to read, and what I discovered sent chills racing down my spine. Henry Chance had been a writer, much like myself, but his obsession with the supernatural had consumed him. His writing spoke of a malevolent presence that had haunted Penner for generations, a presence that could only be appeased through dark rituals and sacrifices. He wrote of whispers in the night, of shadows that moved on their own, and of a curse that bound the town to a terrible fate. As I delved deeper into the journals, I realized that Henry Chance had become convinced that the key to breaking the curse lay in a specific ritual, one that required the blood of an outsider, someone like me. I was chilled to the bone as I read his frantic entries, detailing his search for the perfect candidate, someone to take his place in a sinister pact with the unknown. I knew I had to leave Penner immediately, but it was as if the town itself had other plans. The moment I stepped out of the mansion, a thick fog descended, obscuring everything in a ghostly haze. Panic surged through me as I stumbled through the misty streets, desperately trying to find my way back to my car. But the town seemed to twist and turn, leading me deeper into its heart. I heard whispers in the fog, eerie voices that seemed to come from all directions. They spoke of a choice I had to make, a terrible choice that would seal my fate. As I wandered lost and disoriented, I stumbled upon a crumbling chapel. The doors groaned open as if inviting me inside. The interior was even more decrepit than the exterior, with shattered stained glass windows and pews covered in dust. At the altar, I saw a grisly sight that froze me in my tracks. There, upon a blood-soaked altar, lay the lifeless body of Henry Chance, his chest torn open, his heart missing. A grotesque symbol was carved into his flesh, a symbol I recognized from his journals. It was a symbol of the cursed ritual he had believed would free Penner. As I gazed upon the horrific scene, a presence made itself known. It was a shadow, a shapeless darkness that oozed from the corners of the chapel. It whispered to me, promising power, immortality, and the answers to all the mysteries of the universe. I knew I had to resist to flee from this unholy place, but the fog had become an impenetrable wall, trapping me inside the chapel. The shadowy presence grew stronger, its whispers growing louder and more seductive. It knew my deepest desires, my darkest fears, and it used them against me. In that moment, I felt a darkness seeping into my soul, a malevolence that threatened to consume me. I could see the cursed ritual taking shape in my mind, and I knew that if I stayed, I would become the next victim, the next sacrifice to the insatiable darkness that had plagued Penner for generations. Summoning every ounce of willpower, I tore my gaze away from the shadow and made a mad dash for the chapel doors. They swung shut behind me with a deafening thud, and the fog outside dissipated as if it had never been. I stumbled back to my car, my heart racing, my mind reeling from the horrors I had witnessed. As I sped away from Penner, I couldn't help but wonder if Henry Chance had been a victim or a willing participant in the cursed ritual. The town of Penner had tested the boundaries of my sanity, and I knew I could never return. It was a place where reality blurred with the supernatural, where the past and present intertwined in a nightmarish dance. As I left that forsaken town behind, I couldn't shake the feeling that Penner would forever haunt my dreams. A place where the line between chance and fate had been irrevocably blurred,